What's up, everyone? It's Cannan, and welcome to the Spencer Mansion, a place that me and maybe many of you have been to many times and are very familiar with. So, we have got some Resident Evil news here that I find very interesting. Of course, there's been news about Resident Evil 9 and stuff like that going on, and while I'm interested in that, there's still not, it's not like it's coming out anytime soon as far as we know. But some rumors that have been going around that I want to be excited about, but on the other hand, I'm like, do we really need it? And that is the news that Resident Evil 1 remake might be getting a remake. And I'm like, why? Okay, so if you guys remember, I did a playthrough of Resident Evil 1 remake on the channel a good couple of years ago. I actually finished it. And I said in that video that Resident Evil 1 remake is not only one of the best Resident Evil games, it's one of the best remakes ever made. It is the quintessential how to do a remake. Not only was it completely rebuilt from the ground up with, at that time, current graphics, it had better voice acting, the controls were way better. It kind of went away from the campiness of the original to being actually a bit more creepier and scarier. It added new things like the Lisa Trevor story, the Crimson Heads, parts that were not even in the original. The music was all new. It was just quintessentially how you make a remake, and I think to this day it's one of the greatest things I have ever played. But sadly, back in the day, it didn't do very well. And that is because Capcom did not promote this game whatsoever. It was only for the GameCube. It came out in 2002. And I remember buying it from GameStop. I don't remember if it was brand new or if it was used when I bought it. But I remember getting it, and I got it and Resident Evil 0. Because Resident Evil 0 used the same graphics engine. It was released around the same time it did. And of course, 0 didn't do that well either, because just a lot of people thought it was a step back from what the series had already done. And it's funny, I believe that this was before Resident Evil 4 came out, because I think Resident Evil 4 came out in about 2005, was it? Let's see. Oh, that's the remake. Where's the original? Here we go. 2005, yeah. So it's kind of shocking that Resident Evil 4 got the release that it did after these did not do that well. But here's the thing. Because 0 and 1 remake did not do that well, that's what eventually led Capcom into making 4 more of an action horror, which led us to what would eventually become 5, and then the disaster that was 6, before we finally got a renaissance, really, with 7 and 8 being more horror based games, and even the Revelations games. But it's funny that Capcom did such a terrible job promoting this game that a lot of people didn't even know it existed. And then in 2014, I believe, 2015, January 2015, they released an HD remaster of it, and it did very well. It even broke sales records. It became the PlayStation Network's biggest launch and Capcom's fastest selling digital game across North America and Europe. It exceeded 1 million copies by April 2015, and it led to Resident Evil Zero getting an HD remaster. And then, of course, it released physically as the Origins Collection, with Zero and Resident Evil 1 Remake coming out together on it. And, you know, it created a whole new generation of people to experience Resident Evil Remake. And like I said, Remake is just so good that I really wished at least Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes kind of stayed with the tank controls and all that, but of course they went with the over-the-shoulder thing that I think is now going to be more of a Resident Evil staple. I don't know if 9 will keep with the whole first-person thing like 7 and 8 did. Probably not. If we go back to using a character like Chris or like Leon, from what the rumors are saying, then it'll more than likely be third-person. But now, thanks to Will, Horror Game Central, that's at Resi Evil Central, capital R, capital E, capital C, we have got some big info about Resident Evil 1 Remake that, once again, makes me excited, but also I'm just like, does this really need to happen? Because it still looks good to this day, but also I'm the type where once certain games start getting remade, like Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4, it does lead me to think, well, I kind of wish Resident Evil 1 looked like these, so it would be more of a seamless thing. So it looks like we may be getting our wish. So here we go. Working title, Biohazard RE1. So it'll just be Resident Evil in America, more than likely, or just or it might just say Resident Evil 1. Who knows? Will be slower paced than Resident Evil 2 Remake. Now that I agree with. I do want it to be slower paced because that kind of fits Resident Evil 1's time place. It's like it's before, like it's after Zero, but for the longest time Zero didn't exist. Resident Evil 1 was the genesis of the series. So, moving through the mansion as either Chris or Jill, that makes more sense to me. You know, not so much in Claire's case, but Leon's case, the reason why you would think he would move so fast through the events of Resident Evil 2 is because he may be a rookie, but he's still a cop. So, he's invested, like, you know, it's kind of goes with that. And, you know, I would like to think that Leon had at least been to the police station before the events of that game. But I don't know. When he was coming in for his first day, it looked like he was traveling. So I don't know. So even though Jill and Chris are trained, you know, they're part of STARS, they would still move through this mansion very slowly because it's literally something they wouldn't be familiar with. Each zombie will have their own unique model due to small number of enemies within the game. Now that I also agree with. There would only have been a certain amount that would need to be in this mansion. So all of them will be unique. Every zombie will look different, which is great. Now, of course, there are some parts of the game where zombies just start coming out of the windows and just appearing. You know, it even happened in the original remake, so will they still keep... Like, it's almost like you get a feeling, especially in later parts of the mansion, that it's getting overrun, slowly but surely. So will that still happen? Who knows? More bullets required to take out Resident Evil 1 zombies than Resident Evil 2 Remake, quoted as bullet sponges. So that kind of worries me because some of the zombies in Resident Evil 2 were bullet sponges. It seemed like it did take a good, even on easier difficulties, it seemed like it took more to put these things down than it should. So Fewer zombies, but harder. Now, this next one is terrifying. Crimson Heads will return. Yeah, if you've never played Resident Evil 1 Remake, and if you didn't watch my playthrough, Crimson Heads are terrifying. So Crimson Heads were first brought into the remake. They were not in the original. Pretty much, if you killed a zombie and didn't destroy its head, it would later mutate and become a Crimson Head, which is a stronger and faster zombie. And the reason why it's called Crimson Head is because their skin color would literally turn red. They would grow like claws, it looks like, and like as they breathe, like this like fog, like you could see their breath coming out of their mouths. And they'd be harder to kill. They would do more damage. And the only way to prevent it was, for one, destroying the head. So if you were able to make their head explode when you shot them, then you wouldn't have to worry about them. But the only other way to prevent a zombie from becoming a Crimson Head was to burn the body. Now, with Chris, it was a lot more easier because Chris already came equipped with a lighter. With Jill, you had to eventually find the lighter. But I think as Chris, you also still had to find the flask to keep gas in. With Jill, you had to find both the flask and the lighter. So, a little bit easier with Chris, but people still consider Jill easier to play because she has the lockpick. Resident Evil 1 lore will be explored further. Now, is this lore that we already know of, that's already like been established, but we're going to get even more detail in it? Does this also include Lisa Trevor? That's one thing that I want. I want Lisa Trevor's story to come back in this remake, because Resident Evil 1 Remake was great in its own way, but the Lisa Trevor story was captivating, it was tragic, it was heartbreaking, but it was also terrifying. I will never forget walking out to her little shack out in the woods for the first time. It was absolutely terrifying, and the fact that you knew that she was invincible, you could not shoot her and kill her, made her even more terrifying. But everything else with Spencer and finding out where the things for the viruses came from, that they came from not only Africa, which Chris did find in Resident Evil 5, but knowing that all the way back in like Spencer's childhood, well, not childhood, but like his his ancestors, whatever, working with Mother Miranda, and just like, that's one thing about Village that I really love, is that they were able to tie it back all the way to Resident Evil 1. So, if I remember correctly, I think Spencer also was able to prolong his life like Miranda did, but Miranda successfully did it better. I'm not sure. If I remember correctly, because guys, it's been a while since I've played Resident Evil Village, but I believe Miranda knew Spencer, or at least someone connected to him. But yeah, like the mold and all that from 7 and 8, it literally is a connection to the T virus and what eventually became the G virus and everything else. So with these remakes, they're able to tie stuff together a little bit more, because I think when they were making the original games, they were kind of trying to tie them together into an overarching thing, especially with games like 5 that showed the flower that the virus eventually we found out did originate from. But now the stuff with Village, I think they'll throw tie-ins a little bit better, maybe mentioning a village in Europe and all that, so who knows. A different third-person camera will be used, slower paced again. This I'm not sure of. Will it be more zoomed in? Will it be more zoomed out? Maybe give it like maybe it be like a fusion of the third person, but also kind of tanky. I don't know. Slower paced really reminds me of Tank Controls. So who knows? Maybe it'll be third person, but feel like a tank. I don't know. No more pre-rendered backgrounds. Each room will load up background assets, and the rest of the assets will load when doors are open. This is to improve visuals and lighting. So yeah, it sounds like to me this might even be more of a step up from Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remake as far as visuals go. And apparently the rumor is that it will release in 2026. So if that happens, I don't know if we'll get like a trailer at the what's it called? It's the summer thing. What do they call it now? It's pretty much what took over. It's pretty much what took over E3. The summer game event, is that what it's called? Let me double check. Summer Game Fest, yeah. Summer Game Fest is pretty much what took over E3. And I think that is coming up very, very soon. When is that? Come on, I just want to see the dates. Because I need to keep up with that, because I've been reacting to those. 19 days. June 7th. Okay. Ooh, that is pretty soon after me and Jess get back. It's the week me and Jess get back from Colossal Con. So yeah. Let's see. June 7th. It kicks off. Then June 8th. Wholesome Direct and Indie Showcase. Okay, so I'll be indie games. June 8th. Latin American Game Showcase. Okay. June 8th looks like will be the women-led studios. Okay. June 9th will be Xbox. June 9th will also be the PC gaming show. So yeah, I guess if there's a particular publisher that you want to see, it'll be mixed in all of these. I'm guessing the one on June 7th, live from YouTube Theater, followed by Day of the Devs. Maybe that'll be something, that'll because didn't Capcom have their own thing at this last year? Also, didn't Marvelous or Bandai have their own one? That's where all the Rune Factory stuff was announced. I don't know. I'll have to look at that later. But yeah, maybe we'll see a trailer or a teaser at Summer Game Fest. If not, it'll definitely be next year that we will finally that we'll get a reveal for that, if it is indeed coming out in 2026. It might be longer than that, who knows. But I'm expecting them to keep it the way the original was, along with the remake. Chris and Jill will be the playable characters. I'm guessing Rebecca Chambers from Zero will show up in Chris's playthrough again, where in Jill's playthrough you'll deal with Barry. But very interesting. Hopefully, maybe to keep, the just like how they did with Leon in Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 remake. Hopefully, Jill will still look like the Jill from Resident Evil 3, just to keep the 3 remake, just to keep it, continuity wise, because it really does seem like with these remakes that they're trying to keep them a little bit more of the same continuity. But darn it, I want my Code Veronica remake. Where is that? I know there's been some rumors that it is in development, but come on. Code Veronica needs a remake more than anything. It's the only game now at this point that doesn't have like more upgraded visuals. Like, even if you play the HD remaster, it's still like Sega Dreamcast / PS2 level graphics. Like, it needs the update big time. But yeah, like, the only other thing I could think of to talk about is like, apparently there are still people in 2024 that do not know the difference between a remake and a remaster. I have literally already seen people say that the game that came out in 2002 was not a remake, it was a remaster. I think they're getting it confused with the 2014 HD remaster, or maybe they're just young and don't know. But guys, for the last time, a remake is a game that is completely built from the ground up. A remaster is just an old game with a fresh coat of paint. Resident Evil 1 from 2002 on the GameCube was a remake. If you don't realize that, look at the 1996 release of Resident Evil 1. It did not age very well, but this is exciting. But then, of course, the old fart in me, I guess, is like, man, does Resident Evil 1 remake, does Resident Evil 1 really need a new remake? But looking at what they've done with 2, 3, and 4, yeah, I guess I would want 1 to get a remake, but... And with rumors of Code Veronica maybe getting a remake, do we need to go back and remake Resident Evil 0? Does 5 and 6 need a remake? Personally, 5 and 6 I think still look great, but we'll see. We'll see how things go. Like, it looks like Capcom is really diverting their time in between remakes and new entries. So, we've got news of Resident Evil 9 that's really starting to pick up, but we've also got the remakes. So if they can continue popping out remakes that are good, but also releasing new entries, I guess I don't see why 5 and 6 might not potentially get remakes. If 6 does somehow get a remake, please rework that game. Take years if you need to, but turn it into a legit Resident Evil game, not a action horror movie that's got Resident Evil's name on it. But that's all I've got on that. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, all that good stuff. As always, guys, this is Canaan. Me and Jess love you all very, very much. Please take care of yourselves, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.